So, let's get settled. Okay, so I guess we should start with why I didn't continue with the idea I had. So November is incredibly stressful, and over 1,000 words a day in order to reach the 50k goal by the end of November it's really difficult, especially if you can't just sit and free write and you're okay with free writing. I wanted to have like a working first draft by the end of November. So if I'm going to invest loads and loads of time into a project, it needs to have an outcome at the end, because November is a very stressful month for me. So the reason why I had to stop my other novel and plot development, and if you want to see, you can watch the previous video here. That novel will get written, but just not right now, and not in November. November needs to have a very structured outcome. My writing time is already scheduled into a calendar. My days off are already scheduled into a calendar for November. And I realized when I was putting the scenes together of what I needed to write that a lot of it was very emotionally involved, and that I probably ended up crying for a lot of that. And I went, it's probably not good, being that this is the busiest month of the year in work. So I took a break for 2 days and I stepped away from everything and I stopped. So that was October 17th. Then I went back to this, which, if you haven't seen it before, is my avocado and spice notebook that I use for free writing in the morning. So there is a thing that I do, where I actually started it in January last year, where I free write and I kind of voice dump my own voice and ideas into this journal. So it is maybe scene ideas, maybe character ideas, maybe something fun. It can just be anything. And I've had this idea of a short story that I've wanted to write for a long time about the characters in the canteen of a theme park. Bear with me. And then I went, I wonder if I could develop that further. So it turns out there was 3 things in here that kind of worked well together and gave me the premise of the novel that I'm writing now. The other thing that I did was I aged it down to middle grade instead of writing an adult fantasy. I know, but one of the best ways to achieve your goal is to get everyone who lives with you on board, especially for NaNoWriMo. And nothing like a curious 8-year-old is going to get you past the 50k than at breakfast every morning going, "Mommy, did you?" Or, "Did you do that story with the water dragon yet?" So yes, there is a water dragon. So the plan was, the more people that were excited and helping me achieve my goal within our family living space, the better, right? So that was thought number 2. I can actually hear our ML for the region laughing in my head right now. So I took my ideas, I ran them against I have an hour work through that I do if I want to develop something into a longer project. So I will put a step-by-step video together and I will put it right here. And if you are struggling with ideas for Nano, or if you are wondering if you can develop it into a novel or something longer, how I do that process, you can click this video. So I went from writing adult fantasy to middle grade. But it's also fantasy. And my novel has a working title of Sibylline, which means mysterious. My daughter is heavily invested in this project, so I'm a little bit worried. She is very, very excited, since for years now, she has wanted a water dragon. And if you're wondering what a water dragon and a theme park has together, it's gonna be a fun project. So she is 8.5 and really, 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 really wants a water dragon, but she has written books on this herself where it's her story and where she thinks the water dragon is coming from. So what I've done is I've taken her drawings and put them with my notes and free writing and characters that were in here and turned them into a middle grade novel for NaNoWriMo. So I did everything that I would have done before. I took my main characters, I put them into Artbreeder. I easily now, my world building was much smaller because it all took place within this one theme park. So instead of having to build multiple worlds, all I had to do was really focus on building out the land where this theme park would be, how my characters were going to get there, what interactions would happen within the actual park, and why that would be exciting for middle graders to read. The very fun thing about that is that I do not write for middle grade. I don't, ever. In fact, when I'm writing, I have a very dark sense of humour, and I was really worried about it. So I went away and I wrote a few test scenes of ideas that I had in my head, trying to figure out the point of view, and if it would be in the first or third person. Obviously middle grade, everyone's going to say third person, but sometimes. One of the best kind of younger books in third person is actually Gallant that I've read recently, and it is by E. Schwab. This one. I love this book, but Olivia's non-verbal, so there's a very good reason why it's written the way that it is. And I was hyper-focusing? I was focusing a little bit too much on how to write the story and how the story's voice would come together. Because I had very definitive plot points that needed to happen. Obviously, it needs to contain a water dragon. Is it going to be there from the start? Is it going to be a character? Is the theme park itself going to be a character? So I had all of these questions, and my daughter had lots of heavy input, and I took one of the scenes that I was testing and I made her read the introductory page, and then I made her read the scene, and she got really excited, and bits of it she was like, that's a bit scary. But my daughter's also a little bit too young for middle grade, right? So she's not quite there. So what I needed was kind of what was intriguing, but also I needed to age it up from her view and down from my adult view, which meant a lot of research, and it meant a lot of reading, and it meant a lot of subject hopping, because so many of you are going to have something to say. I have never read Harry Potter. So the very first Harry Potter book that our family has owned is about a week old, and it is the Philosopher's Stone, and my friend is also rereading all of them. She is a huge Harry Potter fan, but I have never actually read them. And I can still say I haven't read them because what I did was I read the first chapter and realized it was in the third person omniscient, and then moved into Harry's chapter where he's with the snake at the zoo, and was figuring out how the world was being built around Harry, and then, which was really interesting because I didn't appreciate how well cast the movies were until I read the first few chapters of The Philosopher's Stone. Then I also moved into the girl who circumvented Fairyland in a boat of her own making, into Skullduggery Pleasant by Derek Landy, and then into Aragorn, which is one of my favourite books, and then back into the beginning of Northern Lights, the Golden Compass, all of which were in around the same age group that I was trying to write for, which I'm now terrified of. And worst comes to worst, this book does not work because it's not in the right age. But there will be a story by the end of it, and it can either be aged up or aged down. But right now I'm aiming for middle grade, which could be so stupid. If you are taking part in Nano, or if you have scrapped a novel, if you're not planning, let me know, drop in the comments. I will also leave a link to my Nano buddy list. I'll also leave a link to my Nano buddy list, which is down below. And for the video on how I develop a novel, which will be a little bit longer than this one, I'm going to pop up next. Bye.